So last summer, I was spearfishing off the coast of Barbados. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to get right into this, David. Again, we are live streaming the Alabama-Georgia game from Innisfree, the bar. So if you're not going to the game, if you're in T-Town, come hang out with us at Innisfree. That's going to be tomorrow night. We'll be walking around Tuscaloosa today, doing a lot of fun interviews with people and fans that are there. But, David, Alabama-Georgia's getting most of the headlines, and they should. It's a mega matchup. But there's some other games that are really, really interesting and some that are sneaky. And I want to start off with one that I think people are kind of assuming it's going to go a certain way. And not saying that the favorite's not going to win, but I think it could be a little bit closer. We're talking about Ohio State at Michigan.
That's your sneakiest, huh?
23.5-point spread at least this point in time. Look, Jonathan Smith came over to Michigan State from Oregon State. He's got to build that place up. Aiden Childs got a long way to go. But this Michigan State team has been scrappy, man. They looked defunct against FAU, but then goes on the road to beat Maryland, gave Boston College the fight of their life. I tell you, I think Ohio State's going to win this game, but I'm not 100% sold on Ohio State on the offensive line yet. And I don't be shocked if halfway through the third quarter, if you're not watching that game and that ticker rolls on the bottom of the screen and you see Ohio State's up 17-14 against Michigan State on the road. I like Michigan State most likely to cover this game, but it could be sneaky. It could be sneaky, David.
Unfortunately, this isn't one of those ones where both teams can lose because that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I've just seen this movie so many times. I've worn the VHS out. It won't even hardly play anymore. I've seen it. It might be 17-14 the beginning of the second quarter, and then all of a sudden you flip back, you come back to the game again, and then it's 54-14.
Yeah, and again, that could happen, right? But there's just something about Ohio State I just don't trust right now. Like, and they could go undefeated, win the national championship, and I could be 100% wrong, and I've got them in the playoff and winning the Big Ten. But that offensive line, I think Michigan State can just hang around, and I still don't think Will Howard's a great thrower of the ball. I still don't when I see him. So can they hit those big plays? Against Marshall, it was big plays.
Yeah.
It was Quinshawn for 70, right? Egbuka for 70 off a screen. I don't know if Michigan State, as deficient as they are personnel-wise from a depth standpoint, I think they may hang around. This one's at home. You got nothing to lose if you're Michigan State.
What do you think about this one?
Well, I don't think Ohio State's played great yet. I really don't. They've won every game by 40, which is tough. And I believe if you look at Michigan State, played BC well, beat Maryland, played some good teams well, but how much do you trust Childs not turning the ball over?
Oh, I don't. I don't at all.
7 picks already. 4 touchdowns. If you want to see a game snowball quick, if you're Michigan State and you come out here and start turning the ball over like you've been, Ohio State's going to kill you.
Can Michigan State run it at all? Any semblance of a run game against Ohio State?
This is
got to be quarterback run game, right?
Yeah, this feels like a game, but I think Ohio State actually comes out and puts a whooping in these boys. I really do.
That's the movie I've seen before. Can we have a plot twist? I don't know. We'll see. Interesting you went Big Ten because I'm going to go with the Big Ten as well for my sneakiest game. The sneakiest game of the whole week, and no one's even talking about it. No one's even mentioned this. No one even thinks it's happening. Indiana hosting Maryland.
Firing up. And by the way, I did the Cignetti smoking thing first, if anybody's asking.
Don't look now. Kirk Cignetti has these boys 4-0. Now, here's why it's interesting.
Florida's next coach.
Indiana hasn't played great football teams yet. Actually, I'll go a step further. They really hadn't played even good football teams.
You read that? You got
Whoa.
Well,
all of our Charlotte fans, shame this man.
Yeah.
Shame this man.
They know it. They know it as well.
Actually, all the Charlotte fans are like, yes,
right.
We suck.
31-7 over FIU, 77-3 over WIU.
WIU.
42-13 over UCLA, and that one was on the road at least, and then 52-14 over Charlotte. Meanwhile, on the other side of it, Maryland 3-1. Their only loss to the Michigan State team that you guys were just talking about, and that one was at home. They hadn't played against great competition either, but they do have a road win at Virginia. That one was 27-13. I just think, man, this one's going to be interesting because Kirk Cignetti goes 5-0. All of a sudden, you start to get that momentum and that confidence rolling.
Bomb spaghetti.
You could go 6-6.
Like,
no, I'm just
vomit
kidding.
on my sweater.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed with this Indiana team, and really impressed with Kirk Cignetti.
Telling you, man, I like his swag. He's got that like cool dad, like wow, like in the carpool line. Your dad's listening to Drake. That's crazy. You just got that vibe to me.
Signetti?
Yeah.
You think Signetti listens to Drake?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Let's get him on the show and ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should. Look,
Don't
I'm all
tell me
for
what I
that.
think
I'm
I
just
know.
saying,
You know
I've
I
seen
know. I knew once.
A guy with that haircut and long khakis listening to Drake. Maybe that's just me. But another game that nobody's talking about, even less people are talking about it than your game, Dave.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a major game, and it's coached by Major Applewhite. That's a South Alabama Jaguar
No, they're talking about that.
versus LSU. Look, I'm not saying South's going to come out here and win, but I wouldn't underestimate these guys. I would not underestimate these guys. Look,
to
per
cover?
capita, where are the best players at?
I mean, I think the
Mobile.
state of Georgia.
Yeah, it's Georgia, and where? It's Mobile. It's
He
Mobile.
went to Spanish.
These guys, there's cats running around the 251 guy that can play with LSU. LSU's defense, do you trust them?
I mean, not like
No.
fully.
Yeah, so that's another word for what?
Like a
No. Is there anything that I trust? Look, South's going to be able to score points now. They're going to be able to put points on the board. You just lost Harold Perkins. He's out for the year in the ACL. It's a weird game. If I'm an LSU fan, don't walk into this game thinking you're just going to roll these
Can
guys.
South Alabama's defense stop LSU twice the whole game? Can they?
Are they going to need to?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, they
There's
are.
nothing about the LSU defense right now that excites me.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy. I think
Look,
there's
if
no-
Robbie Asher can score on you, so can South.
that old Geo kid they got at the lefty quarterback's not
Lopez,
bad
yeah.
at all. And we're gonna have to wait. That spread was at 21.5. But if you want to go to a place where the spreads are the best, and I'm not talking about food or anything else, you need to head over to betonline.ag right now. You may have some other sports book, but that's okay. That means you can't go sneaking around on a Thursday night, right? Head over to betonline.ag, place your bets with promo code Booster, get a 50% sign-up bonus of up to $250. That's free money in every language. Well, except like 2 of them. Also, whether it's NFL, Major League Baseball, heck, political stuff, they've got the bets over there. The payout methods are versatile. They're easy. The website's very easy to navigate. That is betonline.ag. Use promo code Booster, that's BOOSTER, for that 50% sign-up bonus of up to $250. Add it to your repertoire if you're a first-time sports gambler. Welcome to the funny business. And make sure you check out betonline.ag. Use that promo code BetOnline, where the options are endless. And so is the what, Blaine?
The fun.
Shut up, Blaine. Let's get to locks, leans, and dogs.
Who's up first? Jake, go.
You got me to go first?
That's rude.
You brought up LSU and USA. Now, typically, if anybody was playing USA, I would root for USA. But in this case, it's South Alabama, which is my alma mater. I'm rooting for the over as one of my locks. 63. All right, bought that down a couple, so you can't screw me over at the end. That's at minus 146. So LSU, South Alabama, over 63, minus 146. And then another one. I don't know who's going to tackle Ashton Jonty, and I don't know who's going to tackle the White Witch, Johnny Mateer, that they got at Washington State. So I'm going over 63 there as well. Mirrored numbers. You broke down a play with mirrored routes on both sides by the offense. I'm going to mirror my over on the locks here. Boise State, Washington, over 63 at minus 112. What are we doing? We're not standing up straight. We're leaning, and I'm feeling really good about a 3-team parlay in the leans.
Oh,
Right,
really, Billy?
Kansas State, money line at home
Okay.
against Oklahoma State. Nebraska, money line on the road at Purdue. And then Boston College at home against Western Kentucky. All those on the money line at a fun plus 131. Then I've got to go Louisville Notre Dame under on the lean. I have to. I bought it up to 48 because I could get that for under minus 150. I got it at minus 148. Ground game, ground and pound, 2 really good defenses. Yes, you heard that right. Louisville has a really good defense. Give me the under at 48. This one's got 23-20 written all over it. Then my dogs.
God. Is that the baby dragon again?
Yeah, dude.
It is. I just wasn't.
Get him under control.
I wasn't prepared. It's Friday. I wasn't prepared for that. Louisville on the money line.
Yes.
At plus 200.
Let's go, son. One more.
That's right, son. And then Bama, money line. I got him, again, we did these on Thursday, so I could get him at plus money. I don't know what the line's going to be at now at plus 105. Let's go, David. Tell me.
Man, I am loving what you are putting down. especially on that Louisville ND under 48. I got it early in the week, locked it in, and that's going to be my first lock. I'm going to go ahead and take Notre Dame Louisville largest lead under 16.5. You can get that at minus 110 right now, even if you missed out on getting the under early in the week. I think it's going to be a close ball game, defensive ball game, so let's see what happens. I'm also going to take the under in the Michigan-Minnesota game at 38.5, minus 120. It continues to fall. Get it while you can. Get it while you're hearing these words. Like it for the same reason we've liked all the Michigan under so far this year. I think Minnesota is going to struggle to score, and if Michigan's just going to be one-dimensional, they may win football games, but I think they're all going to be close. So how are we leaning? How are we really leaning this weekend? I'm going to take Washington State plus 7.5. When we were picking our most interesting matchups, this was about to be mine. This was my second most interesting game because Washington State is 4-0 right now, taking on Boise State 2-1. Their only loss is to Oregon. And keep in mind, Boise State's still trying to get that Group of 5 spot in the college football playoff. Washington State's still trying to say, hey, we're a power conference over here. Look at us. We're undefeated. You're going to give me a touchdown and the hook at minus 123. I'm going to take it for Washington State. Keep shocking the world out there. I'm going to stay out west with my lean. Oregon TTP over 41.5 right now. This game is at UCLA. I don't think UCLA is a good football team. If you want to take the spread outright, that's fine. But I'm going to take the Oregon TTP over 41.5, and that's plus money right now, plus 105. And that gets me to my dogs. Can we be bet buds? Can we be bet buds on the
Listen, well, I'll ride into the midst of Avalon.
Louisville plus 200. I like it. I think they win the football game outright. Look, maybe I'm wrong. Notre Dame's defense is for real. Let's see what happens. But I'm going to take them to win the game. And then BYU. Plus 136.
All right, you believe
They're undefeated. They're undefeated, and they're taking on a Baylor team that I just watched against Colorado. Not pretty. Nope. It's not pretty. So go ahead and give me BYU. I have to make up for my preseason prediction by going ahead and getting some of these right. Plus 136. There it is.
I love it. Let's win some money, guys. Let's win some money again. Again. It just keeps happening, okay? My locks, lock it up. No, you lock it up. All right, Miami. Well, I'm going to stay with the people who brought me here.
I love it.
Miami minus 16.5. Remember, this game is on a Friday. Brought that down a little bit. That's going off at minus 128. Then Ole Miss, another team that's been absolutely covering throughout the year. I don't believe in Kentucky that much. Jackson Dart's revenge tour right now, minus 16.5. That's going off minus 122. I'm leaning like Michael Jackson right now. Give me Louisville plus 7.5. That's minus 138. I love that bet. I think Louisville covers that. And Illinois is against Penn State. After what I saw from Illinois last week, Penn State's a good football team, but I don't think they're better than Illinois more than.
Am I crazy to sprinkle a little bit on Illinois money line?
No, you're not. I think it's 4-1 odds right now.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad bet. That's going off at minus 110. And look, I know I'm making a mistake.
Why?
Know, but there's just something.
I like it.
There's just something. Nothing. There's nothing in Auburn that tells me they're going to win this game, and Auburn will win because that's the most Auburn thing they'll ever do. Right? Everything's checked off.
I don't know if we got that power anymore.
Everything's checked off for Oklahoma. Better defense, better offense. Right now, the coach looks better. I mean, you can say what you want. You commit the 6 turnovers a game. I think the other offense is better, even if they get 11 yards and don't turn the ball over. So right now, I'm going to Auburn money line. This game's at Jordan Hare. That's going off plus 105. And David, I'm rolling with you. Wow. I don't think they've seen enough.
Let's go.
I don't think McLean Stadium have seen all those bicycles roll up at one time, and BYU's not here to play around. That's going off at plus 136 as well. Let's have another big week.
All right, locks, leans, and dogs.
Doesn't it feel like one of those games where Auburn will come out and play the best football they've ever played?
You know what I just hate? That the only way we think Auburn can win is by some voodoo witchcraft from the gods, because it's just, that's what Auburn. You know, I wish we could sit here and say, I think Auburn's going to beat Oklahoma because they're better than they are. Because they're better than them. We have to be like, no, thousands of years ago, an Egyptian, prophesied that you're right. Like, in saying that, Auburn will probably, in all seriousness, Auburn will probably come out and look amazing. And by the way, Oklahoma's top 5 wide receivers aren't playing. They're down 3 offensive linemen. So I think that's going to help too.
I like the pick.
But like, again, I'm not going to bet on them, but I just hate that we have to hope that, we find one infinity stone on planet Eldoron so Auburn can win the game.
I just ended up liking the Louisville odds more, and I like them to win that football game more, and then the BYU for the reasons that
I think the best bet on the board is your largest lead.
You like that one?
Well, to be honest with you, I think your best bet's a dog bet too, and that's Oregon plus Oregon TTP 40.
No, that's a lean. That's a lean. But
okay. But still, I think that's the best bet.
Oh, but it was plus money. Yeah, it was plus money. One other thought on your Miami. You said you bought it down a little bit, but it did come down a bit.
17.5.
Why do you think? Is that because of the weather?
I don't know.
I think so.
Because of weather?
But the thing about it is, like, Miami played in a wet game last week against South Florida.
Well, Virginia Tech can't stop the run, and I don't care if it's raining fire and demons. Damian Martinez can tote.
Well, yeah, and like we sit here and say, like, Miami, like from efficiency standpoint, they're ranked 6th in the nation in the run game. It's not like they can't run the ball. I think it's to the point now Miami can do whatever they want against whatever team they faced so far. And I do think this Virginia Tech game will not be close. I don't know. Drone's good Pete. I think he's still learning.
That's one of the guys, Kyron Jones from Virginia Tech. Because I was like, there's 3 teams that I think are kind of sneaky a little bit out there, and they all have Tech in their name. Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, and then Texas Tech. And Texas Tech's kind of, turned it around after a little bit of a shaky start. But man, Kyron Jones, I thought his throwing ability would be, not that he'd be Dan Marino or Drew Brees or turn into some elite precision passer. I just thought it would be better than this. That Rutgers game, because you look at him physically run around, like you're like, man, like you got the pieces. They had guys in like vertical post, wheel, running wide open that he overthrew multiple times against Rutgers, and it cost him in the end. And that's why I wouldn't be shocked to see Washington try and be bombs over Baghdad early against Rutgers, just to say, hey, we know Shiano wants to keep getting everybody closer and closer to the box as this game goes on. But no, I've been kind of disappointed in the way he's played.
Tell you another sneaky game I was thinking about since you brought up Texas Tech. 3-1 hosting Cincinnati, who's 3-1, and just had a huge win over Houston. I mean, Houston's not great, but they beat them 34-0. I mean, Houston played closer against Oklahoma.
Texas Tech, to me, a lot of it was like, all right, we know Baron Morton can do some things coming in the year. It was a little bit stagnant, a little bit ugly early, but the offenses seemed to pick up and the defenses seemed to respond to that. I still think Texas Tech can do some damage. I've been pretty decently impressed with Cincinnati. I was interested to see how Satterfield was going to do out there with the personnel that they have. That the Sorsby kid came in. I bet on Cincinnati the other day, and it hit. So that's a little bit got a little bit of that Indiana Maryland feel to it, right? Like it's 2 teams that we know, it's 2 brands that we know. They're kind of in a little bit of a different position, but this is a massive game, especially if you're trying to position yourself, obviously, to try and win the conference, but make a really good bowl game. This is the one you look back and say, hey, this is what got us to 8. This is what got us to 9 to be able to get mayonnaise poured on.
And I will say this, and this wasn't on locks, leans, and dogs, but if you ever want to feel comfortable taking a bet, okay, you go bet against Kent State.
Eastern Michigan, you believe
Eastern
this
Michigan
week?
minus 13.5 right now, I feel like is a phenomenal bet on the board. I don't think Kent State has a quarterback to play. Their starter got hurt and their backup got hurt against Penn State, and it went like a twisted ankle. I'm pretty sure both of them got taken off in the stretch.
That poor, like you could see in that, me and Blaine, because Blaine put a lot of money on Penn State to cover against Kent State. The game comes on, and if you're the backup quarterback, think about this, if you're the backup quarterback for Kent State.
Wide out.
It's like, hey, look, we're in Ohio, we're going to Pennsylvania, it's not that far, but it's on the road, hostile environment. And then you wake up that morning, it's an early game, got a really nice breakfast. You know, hey, gonna watch our quarterback go out here against Penn State. You're the backup, see what he can do. Y'all get the ball first, and 23 seconds in, they're pulling the starting quarterback off on a stretcher. 23
That's
seconds
tough to come back from. It really is.
To the game. When that backup quarterback came in, David, his eyes, I mean, it was like he saw, like he was getting abducted by.
And the crazy thing about it is Kent State ran.
And they ran it.
They just ran it
with the
quarterback the entire game. I want to get y'all's thoughts. This is a game we haven't talked about a lot. The Stanford-Clemson game.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was 21.5. Last time I saw it, 20.5. Stanford hadn't looked terrible.
I almost kind of like the under in this game.
How high is it right now?
It's, I believe when I saw it, it was 51? Somewhere around there?
57.5.
57, and I like that. I'd like it even more.
Well,
now,
you go back to
Clemson's going to stop IMN, or like they're going to be like, all right, like Stanford really doesn't have anybody else. That's why it was shocking that Syracuse didn't make more of an effort to at least bracket the guy more, especially on that last drive. Clemson's going to take that away. And Ashton Daniels is going to be running for his life in that game. But Stanford's defense kind of impressed me a little bit.
Yeah.
Against Syracuse. I know McCord wasn't great, But I don't.
I thought it was one of the worst games he ever played. Actually.
Yeah, like I think Stanford's defense can hold up enough to keep that under.
And I mean, you watched that NC State game, and I know Clemson took their starters out basically halfway through the third quarter. But that was a young quarterback's first start.
The C.J. Bailey kid from NC State.
Good.
Do we like them against Northern Illinois -6.5 this weekend? NC State. Starting that Bailey kid.
Their defense is so bad.
It is, but like the NIU beat Notre Dame, but then lost to Buffalo. And Buffalo, this ain't the Bills I'm talking about. This is actually Buffalo Bill.
So what's the line right now for NC State?
6.5 at home against Northern Illinois. I almost put that as a lock because I think C.J. Bailey may go tear it up. NC State's due to bounce back and play good against somebody, right? And it's not like they're not going to take Northern Illinois serious because, A, they played bad to start the season, and B, Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame. So I don't think it's a bad bet. I'm going to be interested to see where that line ends up right before kickoff because I think it's going to go up because 6.5 is a really good number. But speaking about really good, you love really good meats, really good seafood?
Yes.
And meat that's sourced right here in the good old US of A? Let me tell you about Good Ranchers, all right? Whether it's tailgating, you're grilling at home, getting ready for the election, all right? You need to make sure you're making good decisions. And that's why we trust Good Ranchers for all of our meat. I mean, my wife made a lasagna with some of the ground beef in it the other day. It was fantastic.
Sounds good.
It's very versatile. We've gone over to your house and absolutely just tore it up. Good Ranchers got a little bit of everything, too, and they're having a presidential promo. So don't miss out. Use code BOOSTER at goodranchers.com today to get a presidential promo worth over $1,200 and bring 100% American meat to your family meals until 2028. Yeah, you heard that right. That's goodranchers.com. Use promo code BOOSTER. I mean, if you get extra plain chicken breast or Angus ground beef, Applewood smoked bacon, which that's what we got in the Crane household, or wild-caught salmon in every order for 4 years. Plus, with that code BOOSTER, you get additional $25 off your first box and free shipping. So like I said, head to goodranchers.com today. Use promo code BOOSTER. Save that bread while getting great meat. Goodranchers.com. American meat delivered. All right, gentlemen. It's going to be a fun weekend. Everybody's super duper excited about it. But there's one thing I do got to bring up that nobody's excited about. All right. And that's the IRS.
They gonna be at the game?
God, I wish. Because when I find him, I give him a piece of my mind. Maybe, you're struggling right now. Back taxes, unfiled returns. Your team's not playing good.
That's the worst.
That is the worst. Especially when you have unfiled returns or back taxes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You need a great team by your side. All right? That's where Tax Network USA, they're number one in the country.
Tax Network.
Right? In every poll. All right? Ooh, we got a little jingle there.
Jingle, jangle, let it dangle.
All right. Don't know what that means, but what happened? That threw me off. When you call Tax Network USA at 1-800-958-1000, you get a free complimentary consultation. When you call the number, the first thing they do is offer you protection, not let you ever have to hear Blaine sing that again first. And then they immediately contact the IRS to secure a protection order, meaning that no levies, property seizures, garnishments, all that, it's halted. Stop. Cut it out. And then if you hadn't filed in a while, you need amended returns, you're missing records, Tax Network USA helps there. And then they set up a plan, the plan for success. All right? They create a settlement strategy to reduce or eliminate your tax debt, putting it behind you for good. So like I said, for a complimentary consultation, call today at 1-800-958-1000 or visit their website at tnusa.com/booster. It's 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/booster today. Blaine, can you sing the jingle again?
Jingle, jangle, let it dangle.
Man, they're probably definitely going to
Wow.
get that.
That's the Santa Claus. You're not ready.
Y'all get that for free.
Yeah, y'all get that. That ain't even a consultation. That's just complimentary. So don't let the IRS take advantage of you. Take advantage of them because they're the worst and boo them. Boo them hard. A guy that never gets booed, though, especially after what Michigan did last week, pulling USC.
Preach.
Our friend, you can catch him on Blaze. He's the executive producer for a fantastic movie. He's an award-winning author. The guy's basically, I think he's one of the Avengers. He just hadn't told us. Our buddy Steve Deace. Steve, what is up?
Steve Deace!
What is that? Nick Fury visited you yet?
Say that again.
Did Nick Fury visit you yet, a.k.a. Samuel L. Jackson, see if you'll join the Avengers team?
I can neither confirm nor deny. That's a top secret.
That's what we call a confirmation in my book. But first off, brother, how you been, man? How's everything going? It's good to talk to you again.
You know what? I can sum it all up with these words, man. We won the Natty. I'm great.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally don't care what our record is for like at least 2 or 3 more years. I'm good. Now, I mean, I hope we win. I'm heading up to Ann Arbor this weekend, in fact, to make my annual pilgrimage up there. But I mean, I am fully satisfied, content. It's the first season I can remember since I was started this at 9 years old that I didn't have butterflies for the season opener, no feelings of dread. I mean, I mean, to quote the great prophets Bush, everything is Zen right now for me. I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Cheezel said that too. Steve, that's kind of, I still feel that way about 2010 and Auburn. 14 years strong.
Yeah.
14 years strong. I've seen it.
14 years.
It's been 14 years, David.
Yeah,
Lightning could strike me. I could get abducted by the Iranians, and I'm fine. I watched us go undefeated, have a Heisman winner, number 1 pick and win the national championship. But Steve, I do want to ask you just about this team right now, before I kick it over to David. Obviously, I know Michigan keeps a lot of stuff in-house, right? Not only just bringing Sharon Moore up to be the head coach, but development. That's what got them where they ended up being last year, guys sticking together. When you look at the quarterback position and kind of how it worked out, are you kind of surprised now maybe they didn't go get a guy out of the portal, or was just hey, we've won with what we've done in this building. Why would I go out to get milk when I can have it brought to me?
Yes and no. Culture is a massive thing in terms of a key component of the bouillabaisse in the maize and blue cauldron there of the success of the last few years. And, we don't know how liked some of these guys are behind the scenes by their teammates. You've got Alex Orji throwing out the first pitch at Comerica Park, for the Tigers early in the year and everything else. And you just don't, to me, if I'm a head coach in that situation, I need to make sure I have someone that is demonstrably better. Okay. And David could speak to this as a former player even more, obviously better than any of us can. But I need someone that I know is demonstrably better that I'm going to insert into that room. Like when Jimmy brought Shea Patterson in after the disaster of 2017, and it was clear he was demonstrably better than anybody we had. I need to do that so that I can transcend any divisions that may line up. I think we actually had some divisions from what I understand within the team over Davis Warren and Alex Orji. That, I mean, here's a guy who's no threat with his legs and we're turning the ball over 1 out of every 4 possessions. I mean, Orji can't at least do that, can't be better than that. And I think you saw the team rally behind Orji, that he had substantial support on the team. So given the late date, the Cam Wards, all those guys were gone. I think Kyle McCord would have been a perfect quarterback for this team as a bridge to the future. He was gone. Okay. Jimmy doesn't always leave it until around, we play the championship game on the 8th. Jimmy doesn't leave for another week or so. It's another week or so after that JJ announces we're well into winter semester, guys. So, and Michigan's not a school that even for a second is going to turn a blind eye and let somebody in after the registration deadline or play any tiddlywinks or winks and nods with that. So now I'm looking at the spring, and is there somebody there that I know for sure is demonstrably better than anybody I have, so I don't upset the chemistry of my team? And I'm not entirely sure that player did exist.
Yeah, man, the Kyle McCord thinking about, and I know the timeline's off, but not only would he be a great addition to Michigan, he would be coming over from Ohio State, too. That would have made the narrative even. That would have spiced up the gumbo.
You're talking about a Netflix documentary. We would have had two years in a row of a Netflix documentary. Steve, I want to talk to you. Obviously, Dave Portnoy, big Michigan fan, came out this week, said, I'm willing to pay whatever to bring a Michigan quarterback in, up to $3 million a year. I don't care if it's the transfer portal. I don't care if we're recruiting him out of high school. I want to talk to you about that specifically, but really, can you answer in a way that addresses more broadly where we are right now in college football, because we're coming on the heels of a UNLV quarterback who's quit the team, Bear Alexander. Either Michigan broke this man last week, or I know all of this is circumstantial and these are individual situations, but there's something going on writ large with college football. Can you just tell us what are the issues and what are the solutions right now?
Well, the biggest issue, David, is that we are giving unfettered free agency to young men not mature enough to handle it. And we don't give unfettered free agency to, grown-ass men with families and wives and girlfriends and baby mamas and baby daddies and Sean Kemp procreative abilities. They don't even get it, We don't give it to 28, 30, 35-year-old men, let alone 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. They can't handle it. And the case of the UNLV quarterback, apparently his dad can't handle it either. He's completely all in favor of what his son is out there doing. You're just begging for trouble with this. And I think think that a lot of they're all victims and plantation workers media. Okay, these are the proletariat. Okay, workers were unite media that pushed a lot of this. Knew that this would be that they wanted this to happen. This is classic Cloward Piven stuff. All right, you destabilize the system and overrun it so that you have no choice then but to go to the dramatic paradigm shifts that the other side, that leftists want. And so we're now in a position now that the sport you played is gone and will never return. Okay, this is not a sustainable model. They're going to have to make these kids employees and put them under contract. They're going to have to do it. You can't have unfettered free agency like this. You can't have I have to re-recruit my entire roster, not just every year now. That was already hard enough, but every week I've got to do it every week. This is not sustainable on any level. And a lot of the media that push this narrative that these guys are somehow sharecroppers. This is what they wanted, and they knew it would destabilize the sport, and it is. And so we're very soon going to have the next thing they'll do is revenue sharing, but they have to do away with the unfettered free agency, which means they'll eventually put them under contract and make them employees, and that won't be quite as good of a deal for the players as they think. Listen, if you're a Cam Ward, I lead the Heisman balloting player, it'll be great for you. Let me tell you who it won't be great for, though. Okay, the other 90% of players. That's who it's not going to be great for. Not going to be great for a lot of guys who everything's a taxable event now when I go to training table and everything else, and I'm the second string right guard at San Jose State. Not going to be great for me. Okay, but that's often what happens with collectivist policies. People at the very top do great. People at the very bottom do great. Everybody in between, where most of us live, sucks for you, pal.
So I don't know how you keep a locker room together.
Well, it's just, and again, you're not dealing with a sport like basketball, and I'm not saying it's easy, where it's like 10 to 12 guys in a locker room. This is 125 people. Like, this is a totally different animal. Steve, the part that, again, I just find fascinating in a horrible way is how, and we said this at the time, and we talked about this during the week, how at the time when it happened, because it feels like NIL and the transfer portal freedom kind of happened simultaneously. And they were both let out of the box with no structure, with nothing. Just go out and do it, and we'll build the parachute on the way down. Do you think that was because of the panic of people, universities, whoever, being worried they're going to be sued? I've just never seen, just think about it, some of the biggest changes ever. We don't even see this in the government. If they're going to put something out there, there's at least going to be some sort of structure to it, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. That's not what they did. They said, here it is. Go out and we'll figure it out. How did you ever think this was? It almost makes me think they wanted it to be a disaster so we would get to this point, which I think is kind of what you were saying a little bit.
Yeah. Well, there's the other side of the argument wanted it to be a disaster too. And this brings back what David mentioned about Dave Portnoy. There's nothing stopping. If Michigan doesn't want to align with him, it doesn't matter. All he's got to do is subscribe to the 24/7 or Rivals recruiting site or On3 recruiting site, find out who is the top quarterback focus for Michigan every cycle, just can call him himself. There's nothing the NCAA or Michigan can do about it if they don't want to associate with him or don't want that level of contact or endowment to go on. And the reason why is now let me turn to the former Republican governor of Massachusetts who's running the NCAA now, okay? Because this is, again, man, where both sides here wanted it to be a disaster for dramatically different reasons. You had a lot of lefties in sports media who couldn't be good enough to get jobs doing what I do for a living for the Washington Post, covering what I do. So they got jobs covering college and pro sports instead, and are just as woke as the media I go up against, but much dumber. Okay, and so these players are sharecroppers. Now, on the other side, what you saw is a bunch of Republican institutionalists at the NCAA, like Charlie Baker. They wanted this to happen, too, because they thought an untenable situation would finally prompt Congress to come in and save them from themselves. Yeah. That this would be what would prompt Congress to come in and say, obviously, we can't have 50 different standards in 50 different states and what's legal and what's not and where the NCAA has jurisdiction and where it doesn't, because the NCAA wasn't concerned primarily with the sanctity of the sport either, but its own bureaucratic survival. And so what's happened here is the sport is caught in the nexus of two rival political ideologies here. And they've taken something that used to unite Americans regardless of their political ideology, okay, and they're threatening to ruin it right when it's at its absolute biggest cash cow moment. So on one hand, the players are all victims, and even though they're driving nicer cars, on every football player is driving nicer cars in America than most men with a family working 70 hours a week. They're all sharecropper sons, okay? And on the other hand, the institutionalist, the Republican institutionalists in the NCAA are like, we'll just let the sport die and suffer, provided that someone will make sure the NCAA remains relevant and in control, and the sport is caught in the crosshairs of it, which is why I think today, or yesterday, about the time that we were talking yesterday, you saw Big Ten and SEC ADs get together and say, enough of this madness. All right, time for the adults to take over here.
That ideological splinter, I feel like, was exacerbated during COVID. Just like so many things in our society, it really was. Before Blaine jumps in here quickly, the point you were making about boosters at a program wanting one thing, but maybe the coaching staff wanting something else. You have a Woody Hayes story that deals with this. I'm just wondering if you would mind sharing it with us.
Sure, I'm going to try to clean it up, make it as PG-13 as I can. Okay, but I know there's some Auburn folks there. So y'all are used to meddling boosters. Auburn meddling boosters are legendary, right? Okay. So I heard this story from Earl Bruce, the former Ohio State coach, and one of my first beats in sports media was covering our arena football team here when he was the coach. It was kind of weird for me growing up as a Michigan fan, and I'm now buddies with the former Ohio State coach, right? And he knew how much I love college football history. He told me some stuff about Woody would blow your mind. We could do a whole show on these stories, but let me tell you this one. All right. So Woody is about to go, or Earl is a full-time coach for the first time under Woody. He's going to go on his first recruiting trip with Woody to meet a kid. I think it's in Cincinnati, and it's the off season. It's January. It's freezing cold. Woody gets in the car. He's wearing shirt sleeves, no coat. Rolls the window down for fresh air the whole time they're driving down the road. All right, there's cold air coming in the car. He's reading his patent book. He says not a word to Earl Bruce the whole drive to Cincinnati, and it's freezing cold in the car. All right, they finally get to the kid's house, and all of a sudden Woody turns on the charm when he walks in. Man, I mean, he could sell ice to Eskimos, and the guy's like, it's another human being, right? And so they come out after the recruiting visit. They come out into the driveway, and Woody stops Earl after they say goodbye to the kid and his mom. He says, "Hey, where are we staying tonight?" That's the first thing Woody has said to Earl on the whole trip. And Earl says, well, there's an Ohio State booster here in town, nicest hotel in town. He owns it. And I made a call, and we each get our own penthouse suites. Woody looks at him and says, F that, we're not going there. He says, Coach, it's free. He goes, that's exactly why we're not going. He says, you effing call the airport and you tell him Woody wants his roommate available. And Earl's like, who the hell has a room at the airport? So he calls the airport, goes back into the house, calls the airport, and they're like, oh yes, we'll have Woody's room for him. They knew exactly what he was talking about. So they get to the airport, and Woody's room is the quarters they used to give pilots back in those days who had flown too many hours.
No way.
I love the old school, like whether it's the one we talked about with LSU and Colin, the old school recruiting stories are absolutely insane. Like back, and again, it's funny now we talk about boosters paying them.
Woody gets into the bathroom first, of course. He's got seniority. Earl gets in there, showers up, comes back. Woody's got all the lights on. He's reading his patent book, and he's sitting straight up in his bed. All right, he wants it totally quiet. So Earl is waiting for Woody to go to sleep so he can turn the TV on. Woody finally falls asleep. Earl walks over to the TV to try to turn on the Tonight Show, and all of a sudden, Woody sits right back up in his bed and screams out, F them all! F them all! Screams it in his room. And Earl is like, this man is nuts, right? And so the next morning, they go down to breakfast at the cafe at the Cincinnati airport. And Woody, again, is Mr. Charming. He's taking photos. He's signing autographs. Could not be nicer. And the morning rush hour crowd leaves, and Earl finally decides, I'm going to find out from the old man what he was talking about. He's in a good mood. I want to know, right? He says, Coach, I got to ask you something. And Woody said, sure, Earl, what's up? He goes, last night in the middle of the night, you stood up in your bed and started screaming out, F them all. Coach, who are you talking about? He goes, I met every single one of those mother effing Ohio State boosters who think I owe them something, or I'm going to give them anything they don't deserve. I don't owe them anything. I owe everything to my players and nothing to them. F them all.
Man,
the message was, I'm not taking that guy's hotel room, because later on he's going to call me and ask me, thinks he gets to talk to me about which kids are playing and which kids aren't, and I'm not giving them any order at all.
Yeah, and that's so rare because so many guys, I mean, even back then and in today's, I mean, these boosters are able to give them all type of stuff, and that's what you do. It's what they call it, quid pro quo, right? A little bit of this, but I tell you, and I'm sure there's some other ones too with Woody Hayes, especially from, coaching circles a small one. My father used to tell me there's a couple guys that have some of the best stories, and Woody Hayes for sure is one of them. But that's wild. But coming from a guy that we know what happened on the sideline that one time. I'm not shocked that he got a little angry.
No.
I'm just wondering, dude, you drove with the windows down in the cold weather.
Built different.
How did you get a room at the airport?
Yeah, I didn't even know the airport had that. I thought when they took you to a room at the airport, you popped up on a list.
Yeah, I just don't know how that conversation started. Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
literally.
Like they're like,
It was a simpler time. It was a simpler time.
Yeah, you could. I still get. It was funny. I was watching Mindhunter on Netflix the other night, and they're smoking on the airplane now.
Yeah.
Like me thinking about somebody smoking on an airplane is so far-fetched that they used to do that all the time. But Steve, while we got you, I do want to ask you another question real quick. Looking so far this season, I know you watch more than just Michigan. Who do you think right now are the top two teams in college football? Is there two teams, or maybe even one, that have kind of separated themselves from the pack here?
I honestly don't know. Yeah. I mean, when I look at personnel, I think Ohio State has the highest ceiling. I would have put Oregon right there with them in the preseason. They have not been as impressive.
Yeah.
They've got some injuries on their offensive line as well. They've been struggling to run the football. I think Georgia, of course, is uber talented. I think they'll win on Saturday. I think they have the better quarterback, the better coach, and the revenge factor. I think they'll win in Tuscaloosa. But I also don't think that the talent they have on the defensive front is anything like what we faced in the playoffs a few years ago. I don't think there's any Ladd McConkey level of weapon on the, or Brock Bowers weapon on the outside either. So I think that brings them, more back to the pack than their overall talent level would make them. I think Alabama, I think Jalen Milroe is thriving in Kalen DeBoer's offense. I never understood the whole, it won't be a match. I mean, Michael Penix looked more like Jalen Milroe early in his career than he did later in Washington. And Kalen DeBoer coached both iterations of Michael Penix just fine. The Jalen Milroe-esque version at Indiana, and then the first-round pick at quarterback with the best touch in college football we saw at Washington. I think it's really wide open. Texas, to me, I think a lot of what Texas did to us came down to their offensive line's really good and could block our front four. They're probably one of the few in the country that can. And so we just weren't prepared yet in week 2 to be running a lot of Winks NFL exotics to compensate for that. And Sark took advantage. And then we had a 0 at quarterback. Okay. I mean, we had a 0 at quarterback. And if you have a 0 at quarterback, the other team can look a lot better than they really are. That's a long-winded way of saying until Ohio State plays somebody, I'm not sure I can answer your question.
Yeah, well, that's a great point on Penix, because I think people don't realize Michael Penix got injured into being a pocket passer. He got hurt and bad injuries to the point where they're like, hey, because he can move, man. You remember him in Indiana before the injury? Like Michael Penix was running.
Yeah,
he was absolutely running. But Steve, there's a couple other people running in another big race here that's going to be decided in November. It's going to be nuts. I know you got your finger on the pulse with everything there, but brother, we always love when you stop by, can talk some college football, tell some Woody Hayes stories. It's always a win-win, brother. We just really appreciate you coming on.
You bet. Thank you, guys. Always good to see you. Always a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. So thank you guys very much.
Definitely. And look, last year had him on Michigan, won the Natty. We may be the good luck charm. We'll see. All right, Steve. Thanks so much, brother.
Thanks, man.
All right, make sure you guys subscribe. Thanks for joining us. Good luck this weekend. Locks, leans, and dogs are out. Remember, drink Z-Biotics before you drink. May not feel as bad the next day. Well, there ain't no may. You won't. I can guarantee it. We appreciate y'all. Shout out to our sponsors, Good Ranchers, Tax Network USA, Responsible Man as well. And remember, like the chances of me not having fun live streaming this game with the boys at Innisfree, we're going. Gone.
The stage is set. The stakes are sky high. Senator Vance, Governor Walz, face off. But who will land the knockout punch? Don't watch the debate alone. Experience it with the most trusted names in conservative media. Daily Wire Backstage brings you unfiltered commentary, biting wit, and expert analysis you won't get anywhere else. Join Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Andrew Clavin, and Jeremy Boring for a debate night you'll never forget. Daily Wire Backstage, Tuesday, October 1st, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, only on Daily Wire Plus.